Hey guys, it's Katie from Dashing Dish, and I asked you guys what are some common questions that you have for sweeteners, and I'm going to be answering those questions today. Alright, so let's dive into your questions. The first question someone asked is, what sweeteners measure like sugar, cup for cup? And I personally like any of the dry sweeteners that are granulated when it comes to measuring cup for cup like sugar. So if you're used to using sugar, a great swap out will be organic brown coconut sugar. You can find it pretty much in any grocery store or online on Amazon. And I like just using organic coconut sugar in place of sugar because it's lower glycemic index. So that's a great place to start. If you want to use a sweetener that is lower calorie or lower sugar, then I also like Swerve granulated sweetener and monk fruit sweetener, as well as stevia blend. So all of these measure cup for cup like sugar. Sweetener of choice in a recipe. What do you mean? Basically, I leave it open for interpretation because everybody likes something different when it comes to sweeteners. So I recommend choosing one that you and your family like as far as the taste and the texture the best. What do you personally use in your recipes when you're making them? And I personally use, my two favorites are monk fruit sweetener that is granulated, just the classic white. It really does taste very similar to sugar and it measures cup for cup like sugar. And then I also like using coconut sugar. And this is great when you're replacing typically wherever you would use a brown sugar in a recipe. So these are my two go-tos in recipes. Someone asked, when can a dry sweetener be swapped for a liquid one? So maple syrup and honey would be considered a wet sweetener. A dry sweetener is, again, something that is granulated or in a packet. And you cannot swap out wet sweeteners for dry in a baking recipe. So if I call for sweetener of choice, I'm talking about a dry sweetener. So if you're used to using maple syrup or honey, a great alternative is to just go ahead and use the brown coconut sugar. So for this question, I'm assuming you're asking, can you use things like stevia packets, monk fruit sweetener packets, and also this concentrated form of stevia? And yes, you can definitely use these for recipes. I just wouldn't swap them out for baking recipes. You're gonna have a pretty hard time figuring how much of the really concentrated stuff, whether it's the liquid or the packets, to kind of swap out for the baking measurements. So what I would save these for is maybe if you want to do just a little sprinkle of sweetener or make something a little bit sweeter, you could do a little bit of the concentrated sweeteners. I also use these for things like coffee and tea or just traveling, keep them in my purse. All right, so the last question is, are the sweeteners listed in the nutritional info in the recipes? Yes, they are. However, if I say sweetener of choice, what I'm referring to is what I personally use, which is monk fruit sweetener. So this is actually 0 calories. So I did not add any calories if I'm talking about sweetener of choice. Now, if I specifically say honey or maple syrup, then I did in fact factor in the calories and the sugar, etc. in these sweeteners. Alright, so I hope that this helped answer your questions on sweeteners. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and email me, Katie@dashingdish.com.